Hi there, this is my prediction video for tomorrow night's heavyweight fight between British and Commonwealth champion David Price and Matt Skelton. Just before I get into anything else on this fight, just very quickly, some people say that this fight shouldn't be made and they're calling Skelton rubbish and he doesn't deserve to be in there and David Price is wasting his time fighting guys like this, etc. Let me just clear this up. David Price is, I think he's 14-0 with 12 knockouts, alright? He is 29, you know, let's not forget that, he is 29, but he only made his debut about 3 or 4 years ago, so it's not as if it's not as if he's 29 and he's been around for 30 fights or anything, like somebody like Alexander Ustinov, who's like 35 and only just recently fought one good fighter and ended up getting knocked out. But this isn't like that. He's 29, he had a long amateur career, he was fighting at amateur level for years and years and years, so he's moved up, he's had, you know, 14 fights, he's looked good, like really good, especially in his last like 5 or 6 fights, etc. So he's a young 29, it's not as if he's an old 29 who's been around the block, you know, like Eric Morales. He's a young 29, that's the first thing. Second of all, he's only defended his British title one time. That's all he's defended it. He won it, the vacant title, against Sam Sexton 2 fights ago, and he defended it against Audley Harrison. To win the title outright, if the rules are still the same as they were before, he has to defend it 3 times. So he's still got to defend it another 2 times to win it outright. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but my psychology, my thinking would be, win the title outright, get that British title, win the Lonsdale title, win it outright, and then move on to European level or whatever. Don't just say, oh, you know, these people are beneath me now and move on. He's a young 29. He'll move up when he's, say, 30 and a half, so in about 6 months. So I say this isn't a useless fight. I think this is a really good fight because he's got to defend this British title. And at the end of the day, Matt Skelton is 45. He has fought for quite a while now, you know, I mean he's been fighting for quite a while, but he's only been a pro boxer for 10 years. But he's fought everyone in Britain, he's got the experience for fighting them all. He very rarely gets stopped. He's been stopped 3 times in 6, but they were all to world-class fighters. He's been stopped by Ruslan, no, he wasn't even stopped by Shagayev. He went the distance with Ruslan Shagayev, so he's been the distance with a guy like that. He was stopped by Kubrat Pulev in 4, that's the quickest he's ever been stopped. He was stopped by Francesco Pianetta in 8, and he was stopped by Martin Rogan, who was like at the peak of his like heavyweight powers, in 11. So the quickest he's been knocked out is 4, and above that, like an average of about 9 rounds he goes with like top contenders. So Matt Skelton, he might be 45, he might look washed up or whatever, but he's recently found a bit of form. He's had 5 wins in the last 6, although 2 of those were in Prize Fighter, and the one he lost was against Michael Sprott in the final of Prize Fighter. But he's now had something like 4 wins on the trot, or 3 wins on the trot, I can't remember, and one of them was against Tom Dallas, who a few years ago, before he like lost 3 times, a few years ago Tom Dallas was ranked as one of the top prospects in the country, like coming through. And then he ended up getting stopped by David Price, but that was at like 4 days notice of fighting him. So anyway, Matt Skelton knocked out Tom Dallas, and I think he deserves a title shot. I mean, at the end of the day, Larry Olubamiwo has been banned for taking drugs. Tyson Fury is fighting Kevin Johnson, and you know there's already been the wrangling between Price and Fury's camp. Sam Sexton has just been beaten by the British champion. John McDermott's been beaten by the British champion. So who else is there as the very next opponent? Matt Skelton. Perfect choice. Perfect opponent. Because after Matt Skelton will then come along Richard Towers if he can beat Marcus Brown, Lucas Marcus Brown, the Australian guy. So Richard Towers beats Lucas Brown. He's then meant to be in line for a British title shot. That would be a perfect 3rd title defence. And if Richard Towers loses, and he does defend against, and Price defends against Lucas Brown, only the Commonwealth title will be on the line because he's Australian. So that leaves one more British title defence to win it outright. So how about Derek Chisora? Or how about finally Tyson Fury? Or even Dillian Whyte? So Matt Skelton is a perfect title defence because all of those other names I just named have either been beaten, or there's a couple of guys who already have business plans. They were already fighting. So Matt Skelton, good title defence, not bad in my opinion. Then he should beat him, and then he can move up to European level. So anyway, with this fight, I don't think there's much needed to be said about it. I've already explained that Matt Skelton deserves to be in there. He's rugged, he's got a good chin, he's fit for his age. He's not as fit as Bernard Hopkins, but he's fit. David Price is a powerhouse. He's the most scary heavyweight in the world right now. He's got power in abundance. His knockouts are a lot more impressive than Deontay Wilder, whose fights tend to be against guys with tits. So, in my opinion, he's knocking them out faster than Tyson Fury can. So, in my opinion, Tyson Fury is probably going to win by knockout. But I'll tell you what, if he can knock out Matt Skelton quicker than what Kubrat Pulev did, then you're looking at a potential for a superstar. Because Matt Skelton doesn't get knocked out in 1 or 2 rounds. Sam Sexton doesn't. John McDermott doesn't. Audley Harrison doesn't. And David Price knocked them all out quicker than they've ever been knocked out before. And if he can do it to Matt Skelton, I think that would be one of the performances of the year in Britain. I mean, okay, you could say, oh, 45-year-old. It's a 45-year-old who is rugged, and only 3 years ago he was fighting world-level contenders. And he might have lost to them, but it took a while to get him out of there. So I'm predicting Price to win within the first 3 rounds. But if he does it, then I think, you know, heavyweight needs to be put on red alert, because he could well be the heaviest punching heavyweight out there, or hardest punching heavyweight out there. So I'm quite looking forward to this fight. I think it's good. Alright?